Test, test. Tschüss. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is James Stallworth, and I serve as a third-year class president for the UAB Marnix E. Heersink School of Medicine. I'm here today to introduce Dr. Anupam Agarwal, Senior Vice President for Medicine and Dean of the UAB Heersink School of Medicine for the annual State of the School address. I'm particularly excited to be here today for Dr. Agarwal's first address as Dean for the School of Medicine. Over the past few years, I've had the honor of working with Dr. Agarwal as Interim Dean for the School of Medicine and now Dean for the School of Medicine. And the advancement of medical education and the overall medical student experience are top priorities for Dr. Agarwal. When I was looking for a medical school to have my training at, I wanted to come to one that had world-renowned physicians and scientists that I can learn from and get mentorship from. Also wanted to come to a program that was affiliated with a hospital that was a major pillar in the community, that gives back to the community that I was raised in and that I've lived at for my entire life. And UAB has done all of those things. As a medical student, it's been an honor to see all of the achievements and advancements that UAB has made over the past year. And I'm honored and excited to introduce Dr. Agarwal to talk about those achievements. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Agarwal. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. James, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Really appreciate having gotten to know you over the last couple of years. Thank you all for being here. I'm truly honored and humbled to serve as your dean and really to share with you your accomplishments over the past year as I close out my first year as dean. I'd like to begin by remembering several of our faculty we lost this past year. And as you can see on the slide, it also includes one of our major supporters, Trustee Jim Wilson, who we lost tragically earlier last year. He was a huge supporter for everything we did at UAB, but also within the Heersink School of Medicine. I'd like for us to just take a moment of silence before I go on to the next part of the presentation. Thank you. I'd like to begin by telling a story, a truly inspirational story that involved one of our medical students, Will Bird. So David Harmer, a husband and father of 5, was at Salt Lake City for a Christmas trip. He was renting an SUV and was in the rental car lot. And unfortunately, a car crashed into the row of cars, and he was crushed between 2 cars. When that loud sound of the crash occurred, Will Bird, who was just exiting the rental car, with his wife on a ski vacation in Utah, stopped, turned around, he said, "Something's happened," and rushed to the aid of David Harmer. He was calm, collected, was able to call David's wife, who had just dropped him off at the rental to go into the airport, said, "Miss Harmer, your husband's just had an accident. Can you please come back, to the rental car facility?" And was extremely calm, was able to triage, call emergency services, make sure that there were no life-threatening emergencies, and so on. Will Bird credits the training that he received in trauma surgery, as well as his rotation in the Department of Surgery, for that huge role in his preparedness. He reflected that the most important part of this episode was the peace and comfort that he was able to convey to David and Elaine during this time. Maybe I was supposed to be there. This situation reassured me that I can be calm in emergency moments such as these, he reflected. Will, unfortunately, could not be here today. He's at a residency interview, and I'm hoping that he will match with us in orthopedic surgery. I'd like to thank several of our leaders listed on this slide, and this is not all inclusive of our leadership. I'd like to begin by thanking President Watts for his unwavering support to everything that we do, not only at UAB, but across our state, within the health system, and the Heersink School of Medicine. Ray, thank you. I'd like to thank former Provost Benoit, again, a major supporter of our Heersink School of Medicine. Don Bugarella, a collaborator, a colleague, the CEO of the health system. She was unable to be here today because she is in Mobile Infirmary signing a major collaborative agreement between the Cancer Center and Mobile Infirmary. Several of our members of our Dean's leadership team, I'd like to call out Dr. Tony Jones, our HSF president and our chief physician executive, who will be retiring later this year. Members of our Dean's leadership team, all our chairs, and several other leaders, including our leadership at the VA, Dr. Ladi Kukoi and Dr. Andy Sellers. As you know, they just celebrated their 70-year anniversary this year, a tremendous partnership that we've had with the VA in supporting not only our faculty, but our residents and other research programs. So thank you to a key partner, the Birmingham VA healthcare system. This past year, we've been quite busy with recruiting. We've recruited 5 new chairs. Justin Turner will be a new chair of otolaryngology starting May 31st, 2024. He was recruited from Vanderbilt University. Jim Semino will be our inaugural department chair for the Department of Biomedical Informatics and Data Sciences. Victor Garcia Martinez was recruited from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, as a new department chair for microbiology. Brian Samuels as a new department chair for the Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences. And most recently, an announcement that went out yesterday was Dr. Christina Maggi-Gallucci as a chair for the Department of Pathology. We are thrilled with these new leaders and appreciate the ones who've been able to make it or listening live on the live stream today to our leadership team across the Heersink School of Medicine. I'd like to thank our Board of Visitors. The Board of Visitors have played a key role in providing us critical feedback, advice, input, and support. Collectively, they have given to the Heersink School of Medicine over $150 million so far. And again, several discussions with key priority projects that they want to support going forward as well. We welcomed 3 new members this year, Sarah Finley, John Galen, as well as Gordon Lee. They attended our fall meeting, and we look forward to their participation in further meetings later this year. I also want to thank our nurses, our advanced practice providers, all our physicians, our trainees, our graduate students, our postdocs, our staff and faculty that do everything you do day in and day out. We've had several new additions, and I'll show you that later in the talk. I welcome our new staff and faculty as well. We look forward to working with you and growing with you in the coming years. This past year, our health system went through a clinical strategic plan, and one of our goals was to align closely to strengthen that alignment we have with our health system leadership. To that end, you can see the mission and vision statement of the health system. So our key leadership team in the Dean's office was able to revise our current mission and vision statement shown on this slide. So our mission is to advance health and healing through patient care, education, and discovery. And our vision is to be a leader in making a global impact through innovative care, transformative discovery, and collaborative teaching and learning. I'll move on to highlight some of our accomplishments in the education realm. The school's educational programs provide critical clinical skills and knowledge that are necessary for our students to learn how to take care of patients and their families. Our basic science curriculum integrates traditional lectures with small group seminars as well as teaching. The educational experiences that we offer here within our Heersink School of Medicine are essential for the future physician so they can keep abreast with the developments in clinical medicine, the healthcare delivery environment, and to continue to maintain the knowledge and skills necessary to provide high-quality patient care. Here's a snapshot of our education portfolio. You can see we have a total of over 800 medical students throughout the 4 years. What I'm most proud of is our continuing success at our medical students matching into residencies. So again, we had a stellar year with 100% of our medical students matching at 78 different institutions in 31 states in the United States. Most importantly, another statistic that I'm very proud of is the fact that 158 of our 186 medical students i.e. 85% of our medical students are in-state. That is something I'm truly proud of, and hats off to our medical education team led by Craig Hosley and others who have made it a priority to make sure that we are able to meet the challenges of the physician workforce for our state. And this is a small part by making sure we educate students from our own state as a priority for our medical school. The 4 key priorities that we've come up with for the coming years are shown on this slide. We want to play a part in expanding a medical school class size. Now that we have our 8 years of LCME accreditation under our belt, we are expanding our medical school class size by 5 students every year. So by 5 years, from 186, we will be at 210 students. I have begun engaging with the medical students with quarterly meetings with small groups of them, getting feedback from them. One thing we heard from them is their transition from the Birmingham campus to the regional campuses in their 3rd year. Towards that end, we met with the medical school leadership and have instituted a one-time modest stipend to students who are transitioning to these campuses in their 3rd year. We want to expand our integrated residency program in primary care. This has been hugely successful in our regional campuses, where a 4th-year student can begin. They receive a scholarship through our Rural Scholars Program, and that enables them to match into primary care residencies, family medicine, and others, and hopefully stay here within the state. A big goal is to increase our scholarship for our students. Currently, 25% of our students have scholarships. My goal over the next 5 years is to get that to 50%, a challenge that I've made to our advancement team to enable that growth for our scholarships so we can keep talented students here and, based on financial need, give them scholarships so they would stay here in our medical school. We had a ribbon-cutting ceremony and inauguration of our Active Learning Center made possible by a generous gift from the Heersink family. Shown here on the slide is Dr. Monix Heersink, Mary Heersink, and our leadership from the medical school. This Active Learning Center will provide small group teaching sessions rather than the traditional lecture in Volker Hall with 200 students sitting in the classroom, where you have one-on-one interaction between the instructor as well as the student. And this has been very popular and extremely well received by our students. Another new space that was opened last year was the student relaxation space. And this was possible by a generous gift from our Department of Family and Community Medicine. And this space on the 4th and 5th floor of Volker Hall has really transformed Volker Hall. In addition, adjacent spaces has been renovated through a gift from the Medical Alumni Association. So if you've not visited Volker Hall recently, I would encourage you to take a trip and see how that building has now been transformed into a world-class facility for our medical students to be educated. Primary care success. Towards that end, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Irf Asif, our chair of family medicine, and also our associate dean for primary and rural care. Through an HRSA grant, he was able to provide ultrasound machines. These are point-of-care ultrasound machines, or POCUS, and essentially a replacement for the stethoscope. Shown here, we were on a trip down to visit our Selma family practice residency program, where we were able to donate 19 of these to our family medicine residents. Almost every medical student now on our campus also has one of these today, made possible again through this HRSA grant and the generosity of Dr. Irf Asif and his team. So here's a snapshot of our campuses. As you know, we have 3 regional campuses in Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, and Montgomery, and Birmingham being the main campus. So just some highlights from our regional campus under the leadership of Dean Roger Smulligan in Huntsville. They applied for a new psychiatry residency program at Huntsville that we hope to get approved later this year. Their research division in psychiatry has grown, that they now have 2 NIH-funded grants and 11 active research studies on clinical research. They had 65 posters presented by students and residents at their annual research day. They are looking at expanding primary care access, given Huntsville is a rapidly growing area, to make sure that the population has access to quality primary care in the region. Dr. Smulligan and his team are looking at ways to build primary care access in the region. In our Tuscaloosa campus, Dean Ricky Friend we're able to inaugurate a new clinic facility, the University Medical Center Northport Clinic Facility. This is a state-of-the-art facility with over 10,000 square feet of space, with exam rooms that includes lab, X-ray, ultrasound on site. More than 100,000 patients visits have been scheduled since opening of this clinic last year. They graduated their batch of residents and fellows with a 100% board pass rate as well this past year. If you look at the Montgomery campus, under the leadership of Dr. Dean Lou Lambiase, they conducted an inaugural health policy summit. Dr. Brian Stevenson, the director for the Equal Justice Initiative, was the keynote speaker. The next symposium will occur April 4th this year, and our own Dr. Mona Fouad will be the keynote speaker at that event. They also have applied for expanding the psychiatry residency program in the Montgomery campus, recognizing the importance of mental health challenges that we faced post-pandemic. I was able to visit several of our communities, not only our regional campuses, but also several of our alumni. Shown here is a picture from my visit to Mobile, where we met with not only our alumni, but with key leaders on campus, as well as our legislators, both in the House and the Senate, who were from that area, to meet with them. Picture on the right is a meeting that we had in Tuscaloosa with leadership in Tuscaloosa as well. This has been a great avenue to get feedback from our alumni, our donors, and leadership in those cities of how UAB can help them in terms of their mission for their areas. I'll switch to research, highlighting a few high-impact publications. Every year, we select 12 to 15 papers that the faculty nominate that are featured discoveries within our School of Medicine newsletter. I've picked 3 here for a reason, that all 3 of these are, the first author was a trainee. The first one by Michael Patton, an MSTP student, showed that bacterial co-infection with COVID-19 increased risk for mortality, ICU ventilation needs, and so on. Another paper by Hayden Packel, another MD PhD student in the lab of Dr. Audrey Stein, showed that metabolism, lactate metabolism, was critical in the pathogenesis of tuberculosis in an animal model. And finally, Aubrey Shanoff, a graduate student in the lab of Dr. Ashley Harms in neurology, was able to show that macrophages played a critical role in the inflammatory response in a model of Parkinson's disease. So these are just 3 examples. We have many more examples, but these were clearly by outstanding trainees that we have within the Heersink School of Medicine. Dr. Alan Tita was recognized for his pioneering clinical trial, the CHAP trial, the chronic hypertension and pregnancy trial, as the top 10 clinical research advancement by the Clinical Research Forum. And of the top 10, he was selected as the #1 clinical research paper for this work that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. We've been able to obtain new funding for a large programmatic initiative. An example here, a program led by Dr. Eric Roberson for a new Alzheimer's disease research center, which will be funded as a P30. We've received an outstanding score for this program. It's currently funded as a P20 as a development center, and the hope is this will be converted into a full-fledged ADRC. We've also looking forward to receiving a notice of award for our Center for Clinical and Translational Science under the leadership of Dr. Bob Kimberly, Dr. Orlando Gutierrez, and Jennifer Croker. They too have received an exceptional score for the various components of the CCTS. And this will be the single largest grant in our history at UAB, totaling over $83 million. And I've said before, our CCTS is not a single institution CCTS. It includes 12 partner institutions across the Southeast United States, including centers in Louisiana as well as in Mississippi. We've been able to renew major center programs. To maintain our funding, it's critical that we get funding not only for new centers, but also renew our existing programs. So our Center for AIDS Research, under leadership of Dr. Renee Heffron, is pending a notice of award. Our Cystic Fibrosis Center, under the leadership of David Bedwell and a new leader we recruited last year, Brian Davis, was renewed. And our O'Brien Center for Acute Kidney Injury Research was also renewed. New in terms of related to the O'Brien Center, we were able to collaborate with the School of Public Health, with Amanda Anderson and Orlando Gutierrez, and obtain for the first time a coordinating center, U24, that will coordinate all the 7 O'Brien centers across the country. Several other large programmatic initiatives, I'm just showing you 2 examples here. Dr. Maria Pisu, in collaboration with Dr. Mona Fuad, as a multi-PI mechanism, a center for cancer control in persistent poverty areas. Another large programmatic initiative by Jennifer Pollock, looking at early life stress, how that causes cardiovascular disease risk as well as resilience. Really pioneering work that has led to this large programmatic initiative in the Department of Medicine. Another program that was renewed by Dr. Bruce Korf from the Department of Defense, looking at neurofibromatosis, a $25 million award for the next 10 years. And this has also been, these large programmatic initiatives have catalyzed recruitment. Shown here is our recruitment just in the last year. We've had a record year for recruitments. We recruited a total of 170 faculty, of which about 70 are research-intensive faculty. And you can see them here, instructor, assistant professor, associate professor, and professor. We had a lull during the COVID pandemic where we were not able to recruit as many faculty, and it's great to see that momentum that we have been able to pull back. A lot of credit to this goes to a strategic recruitment initiative spearheaded by Dr. Ben Venisti as well as Dr. Josh Carter to enable these large cluster recruits in the different priority areas. And if you remember, we went through a strategic planning process for our research programs and identified 4 key areas: I-Forward, health equity, DTech, and brain health and disease across the lifespan. We have begun to track how our recruitments are doing with our 4 research focus areas, and you can see that across the 4 teams, we have been able to recruit faculty at all levels, assistant, associate, as well as professor, and we will keep monitoring these as we go forward. What has this done? These high-impact papers, this scholarship, and this large programmatic initiatives have enabled our grant funding portfolio to increase significantly. We've doubled our total funding in the last 10 years. We've doubled our NIH funding. We've doubled our total funding. 2 departments are in the top 10 in terms of NIH funding, and 11 departments are in the top 20 in NIH funding. But we are not stopping here. We have very ambitious goals of President Watts to reach $1 billion, and the School of Medicine is a significant contributor towards that goal. We're currently ranked 12th in terms of public institutions, and our goal is at least to be in the top 10 in public institutions. This just shows you our funding by sponsor type. So it's not just NIH funding, but funding from foundations, from industry, from institutions, from international sources, local and state, and other foundations like American Cancer, American Heart, and so on. And we're tracking our non-NIH funding as well. Shown here is our NSF funding. Although modest, we do want to focus on this area to diversify our funding portfolio. Our Department of Defense portfolio is also growing significantly, and these 2 areas are something that we will continue to monitor. We've had national recognition this past year. You all know Dr. Jeannie Marazzo, our Division Director for Infectious Disease and Executive Vice Chair for the Department of Medicine, was selected to succeed Tony Fauci as the Director for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. I was honored to participate in a swearing-in ceremony a few weeks ago, and this is a picture from that event. Dr. Jeffrey Blunt, some of his work in the area of preventing spina bifida has been transformative. His work led to folic acid supplementation in women in developing countries to prevent spina bifida. So it turns out that if you, even before a woman knows she is pregnant, you have to have folic acid on board to prevent this neural tube defect. So his work led the World Health Organization to adopt a resolution that now, just like iodine supplementation and salt to prevent thyroid disease, this is happening today. Again, due to the work of Dr. Jeffrey Blunt in our pediatric neurosurgery department. We hosted an inaugural Global Health Symposium last year that was extremely well attended. The keynote speaker for that event was Dr. Roger Glass, former director of the Fogarty International Research Center at the NIH. It was an amazing event, and credit here to our Associate Dean for Global Health, Dr. Alan Tita, for leading this effort. We had our first HHMI scholar, Dr. Haosheng Sun, was selected from a very competitive process as one of 31 scholars as the Freeman Habrowski HHMI scholar, an extremely competitive process. So we are truly proud of. We hosted the HHMI. They came to review our institution, and they were extremely thrilled to see the support that he was receiving to enable his research going forward. I'll talk a little bit about clinical care. Clinical care is essential to everything we do. At the end of the day, what we deliver to our patients and to our people is ultimately what we are all here for. I've said this before. We do research so we can bring innovation, new treatments to our patients. We do education so we can train the next generation of physicians to take care of our people. So our medical students, our researchers, the physicians, we all chose this line so we could impact our people. We've gone through a strategic plan, as I told you, a clinical strategic plan. There have been several town halls in the last few weeks. And under the leadership of Dr. David Randall, as well as Dr. Sherry Cannon, we've come up with a new tagline, Leading Care and Lasting Impact, as well as 5 strategic commitments that are shown here. Each of these strategic commitments was led by an administrator and a physician. So we had a dyad model of leadership to come up with priorities for each of these 5 commitment areas. Innovation and discovery, again tying to the research strategic plan of the Heersink School of Medicine. So we have that link with the health system. People and culture, excellence in patient care, stewardship and growth, community health and engagement. I'm most excited looking forward to excellence in patient care. It's a challenge we've heard from many of you is access to timely clinical care. So that's going to be a major focus in the coming months as we move forward with implementing a clinical strategic plan. A clinical snapshot is shown on this slide. We had almost 2 million clinical encounters this past year. Again, this continues to grow, and this would not have been possible without our clinical faculty, our residents and fellows, our nurses, and everyone within our healthcare workforce. So really, thank you all for what you do for our health system, our hospital, taking care of our people. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of our Health Services Foundation. It opened in 1973, and this book that just released last month, edited by our former chair of surgery, Dr. Diethelm, is something you all should try and read if you get a chance. It outlines the history of our Department of Surgery and how that played a key role in establishing the first ever practice plan in 1973 when there were no practice plans in the country at academic medical centers. It also talks about the birth of the HSF, it talks about the Kirkland Clinic and how that came into existence, and the health system. So great read for you all. Also want to welcome and congratulate Dr. Sherry Cannon on her role with Dr. Tony Jones' retirement that I mentioned. She's the incoming president of our Health Services Foundation and also the chief physician executive for the UAB health system. Sherry, congratulations, and thank you for being here. A big goal, as I said, is creating access to primary care. And while that work is underway through our clinical strategic plan, there have been several specialty clinics that were launched this past year. A new comprehensive smell and taste clinic, recognizing the post-pandemic COVID challenge that a lot of people were losing smell and taste. This clinic was launched. A spinal cord stimulator therapy for chronic pain in a pain clinic at Highlands. We surpassed 20,000 robotic surgeries, a major milestone for surgeries being done through robots. We are expanding our emergency room. You all know we received a $50 million grant from the state to expand our emergency room, and temporarily we have 2 mobile units that have a capacity of 16 bays, and you can see a picture of that on your left. We're creating a new memory disease clinic in Callahan on the 5th floor. So these are ways so we can expand access to specialty care for our citizens. The Spain Rehab Center, which is anticipated to be completed by spring of 2025, will expand capacity for our rehab needs as well. Cooper Green Mercy Health, which as you know is now being managed through our UAB health system, by David Randall being the CEO and Dr. Reagan Durant as the medical director. This will be a state-of-the-art facility. If you haven't driven down, there's a new parking deck that's being built right behind it, and this clinic will come online later this year. So really excited about access to ambulatory care for our citizens from Jefferson County. Briefly give you an update on facilities. We always hear that we are running out of space for our recruits and so on. So there are a lot of very ambitious plans that the university and President Watts in particular have supported our ambitious growth plans. If you just look at one time point earlier last year, there were 7 cranes on 7th Avenue. So I couldn't capture this. I asked if we could get a drone to capture all the 7 cranes. It was not possible. But this is just a collage of those cranes. We are nearing completion of our McCallum renovation. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors will be renovated later this year. The lobby will also be renovated. So an amazing place, state-of-the-art, open labs for our research faculty. This is the site for our new biomedical research and psychology building. This will be a state-of-the-art, 8 floors across from our campus recreation center, between the Hill University Center here and our Volker Hall here, with a bridge that will connect to Volker Hall. Each of these floors will be about 25,000 square feet and will accommodate about 16 faculty. The first 2 floors will be for psychology and psychiatry, and the other 6 floors will be wet lab space for our faculty, in close proximity to children's as well, so pediatric research faculty will have the space as well. This is going to the board in a week, and we hope to break ground following approval by the Board of Trustees in the summer of this year and 22 months to completion. The Schlesinger Genomic Medicine and Data Sciences building right across the street from here, that is nearing completion, and by December of this year, we hope to occupy the space. And this will provide avenue for our dry lab investigators, precision medicine, our new Department of Informatics and Data Sciences, the Minority Health Equity Research Center, a Global Health Institute, a Biomedical Innovation Institute will all be housed. Our CCTS, the Call Precision Medicine program, will all be housed in this building. So really looking forward to this. In addition, it'll have space for 35 additional dry lab investigators that could be recruited to UAB. Child Development Center, this is a huge plus for our faculty and staff, a complaint we've heard year in and year out. Currently, our capacity is about 106. That includes 10 infants. So this new center, which is slated to open March, April, so in a few months, will accommodate 224 children with 40 plus infants. So this is a tremendous need, and we're going to continue to expand based on need, childcare for our faculty, our staff, and others. So huge kudos again here to Dr. Brian Burnett for sharing these pictures with me and really being a champion and an advocate for moving this forward. So Brian, thank you. A big collaborator of ours is Southern Research across the street. With their new leadership, with their CEO, Josh Carpenter, we're working closely on joint recruitments, joint programmatic initiatives with drug discovery, precision medicine, data sciences, cystic fibrosis, and several other key programs. They, along with UAB and Birmingham City, were recognized as one of 31 Birmingham biotech hubs by the Department of Commerce and the White House. This enables them to apply for funding up to 50 to 75 million for key programmatic initiatives. And I know Matt Might from our Precision Medicine Institute is working closely for a proposal in that regard. This will be their new building, and several of our cystic fibrosis program, for example, will be housed in this building. It's about 30% completed so far. If you walk in that direction, you can see active construction going on in this regard. Building partnerships, just show you a few examples. We were contacted by the CMS administrator, Chiquita Brooks LaSure, that she wanted to come to Birmingham from Washington, D.C. to learn about the work we are doing in health equity. She had heard about Live Health Smart Alabama and the great work we were doing through our Minority Health Equity Research Center. So this was a panel discussion that she participated in, was able to take this back to the White House and to the Health and Human Resources to hopefully give them feedback to the great work that is being done at UAB for the Birmingham neighborhoods. Another visit we had was Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and her husband, Dr. Patrick Jackson, who's a general surgeon. And they were here to do the George Yang endowed lectureship. It was an amazing visit where she got to see firsthand the great work that is being done at UAB and within the Heersink School of Medicine. We've had a great year in fundraising, and again, kudos to Megan Kane, Tom Brennan, and our entire team. We exceeded $65 million in funding this past year. One goal that we have is to expand our endowed chairs and endowed professorships. So my goal over the next 5 years to expand our endowments by about 25%. So from about 241, we would reach about 300 endowed positions. This is a great way not only to recruit, but also to retain talent. And as I mentioned earlier, scholarships was also a major goal for our medical students. We reached 100 million gift, again from the generous contribution from Dr. Heersink and Mary Heersink. If you remember in 2021, we had a 95 million transformative gift, the largest single gift to a school. And he was able to increase his contribution by 5 million to top it to 100 million. And the impact of this gift is beyond just 100 million, and it's beyond just UAB. I think it has an impact across our region in a huge way. So looking forward to working further with Dr. Heersink as we steward this gift to demonstrate that there is a significant impact of this investment in the Heersink School of Medicine. Highlight some of our faculty excellence. We've funded now over 55 Pittman Scholars. These are junior faculty in their first 5 years of appointment. These are the most recent 6 awardees. You can see the diversity in terms of their department, their scope of research, and so on. Really proud to present to you our 6 Pittman Scholars. And this is now year 8 since we've started this program. Highly successful, highly competitive program. In addition to our usual annual Dean's Excellence Award for faculty, shown here on your left, we started a new program to highlight excellence in our staff. Shown here is the inaugural class of our Dean's Excellence Award for staff. Some of them are not shown in the picture. We hope to continue this program every year. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you. Your unwavering dedication, your passion for learning have been my constant inspiration. As I envision the future as your dean, it is your collective spirit that fuels my commitment to what we can do better together in collaboration to enhance scholarship, innovation, and excellence in everything we do. I think we can really impact our community through these core values that we have within us. I'm driven by the shared goal that we all share to create a place where every individual's potential is realized. Thank you for being the driving force behind my aspiration to serve as your dean and contribute to our collective success. Thank you very much. I'm open for any questions. 2023, as you can see, was an exciting year. I'm hoping that 2024 will be even more exciting that I hope to report to you all. Thank you again, and open up for questions.
Does anybody have any questions?
We also have our annual report. If you didn't pick one up coming in, please do so. And I know y'all are not shy, so.
Dr. Agarwal, we did get some questions beforehand, and one of them was, can you tell us about the plans for the pathway to $1 billion?
So the question for those on live stream is, can you tell us about plans for the pathway to $1 billion? So this is an ambitious goal that President Watts has charged all our deans, is what can we do to grow our research expenditures to $1 billion? The $1 billion is only a milestone It's a measure of success. But what we really want is that we have a growth with purpose. This will enable us to be part of an elite group of about 24, 25 institutions across the country. But how we get there is by empowering scholarship, innovation, excellence, collaboration. And that'll what will get us there. So it's a readout for what we want to do. And it's not that all we care about is the dollar amount of reaching $1 billion. And the School of Medicine plays a major role in that. As I showed you, we're at about $610 million, and the total funding of the university is about $775. So for reaching that $1 billion goal, we will have to reach about 750 or 800 million. I think given our trajectory of having doubled our total funding, doubled our NIH funding, recruiting 100 new investigators in the last 6-7 years, I think it's a challenge that we can accept and do collectively as a group. Our chairs, our other leaders, that I'm up for this challenge, that I'm committed to making happen. And several of us were involved on the research design work group from the Heersink School of Medicine and from the health system, Barry Schleckman, Don Bugarella, and myself. So we were involved at every step of the way with the Huron consulting engagement that we've just completed. And on March 20th, Dr. Watts is going to host a town hall. So please make sure to attend that town hall where you will get a gist of what the findings were. Some of the actions have already started based on the feedback that we've gotten from the Huron engagement. So.
Great. We received one other question, and that was, what are some of your top priorities over the next year?
I highlighted some of the priorities, but I'd reiterate some of them here. From the health system, trying to expand access to care is going to be critical for us in the emergency room, through our clinics. That is going to be a major priority. We also want to, on the education side, I talked to you about the scholarships. That is going to be a major thrust for this year, is to increase our medical school class size and also scholarships. On the research side, our goal is to recruit 100 new funded investigators over the next 6 to 7 years. And that'll be net new. So currently, we're at 366 NIH-funded PIs, and I say NIH-funded because that's an easy metric to monitor on NIH Reporter. So our goal is to get to somewhere in the mid-400s, 450 or so. So that's going to be a priority, is to recruit and retain our talented faculty. So we want to not only recruit, but we want to invest in our existing faculty as well. So that is going to be a priority that we continue to focus on.
Any other questions?
James?
Dr. Agarwal, you mentioned over the next few years we'll continue to expand our class sizes by about 5 students. Is that just a testament based on recruiting more faculty and being able to increase the building?
So the question is from James Stalwart, is increasing our class size, why only 5? And is it based on faculty or building and so on? Increasing class size for our preclinical years is not a major issue for the first and second year, but it's the clinical preceptorship is the difficult piece. So we want to make sure that the students have a unique and exceptional experience. So just increasing the class size may overwhelm the system, James. So we want to be very careful of doing that. So the first year actually will expand by 2 MD PhD students. And the subsequent years, there is capacity in our regional campuses, Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, and Huntsville. So those students will be in those areas for sure. But as we expand our health system here, new Spain rehab at some point, new cancer hospital, that footprint here will enable us to grow, even further. So. Seth, then you have a question? Okay.
All right, if there are no other questions, then we will turn that back over to you.
Well, thank you all for being here.